Harry, that is a lot of water. Have you seen, come here. Have you seen, oh, that's piercing. So in this area, so he's from a company called Flood Tech. He's also one of the best paid trade professionals I've ever met in my life because he wears Lyle and Scott on site. But anyway, less of that. You can see here, we kind of got this scale, which is a demonstration that we're in a flood risk area. So this property and these properties on this street have had flooding issues in the past. What happens, that rises, water hits the road, it gets driven in to the doors. So what we've done as prevention, you can see the first thing that we did ourselves was we raised this up, which was our way of sort of deterring the water from getting driven in underneath the doors. We've also got brand new doors. Second thing we've done is had a contact from the council because they're working on the area to sort of reduce any chance of flood risk. Great timing for us with the project. Had a letter through, we've engaged these guys called Flood Tech. Amazing to work with the council on this. They've been absolute diamonds with the speed they've got this done. We've got all this flood prevention stuff going around the doors. I won't explain it. I'll ask Kev to explain it in a second. They actually put in a lot of work, don't they? They're going to get all these done today. We'll have a look at that. Let's go have a look at the property. You can see the weather is against us. Dan's popped his gazebo up, so we've got the plasterers on site at the moment. We're going to have a look at what they're doing. And yes, before anyone comments,
I've already zoomed in.
I do not have my Band of Builders V12 work boots on because, not gonna lie, I let them get very dirty after our Halloween special, and they need a good clean.
Gonna use that excuse
Simple as that.
for the rest of time.
For the rest of time. V12, hook me up. But H, can we have a look at the state of the ground around here?
Yeah, it's put a damper on things.
But hey, spirits are high though. As you can see, Dan's just doing some general tasks here to make sure he gets his day in, but on the garden. He's looking busy.
This is called looking busy.
Looking busy while the gaffer's about. Labour unskilled, letting to do a job, well overloaded the van, so we're now restacking, get them off site so we can use the van again as our skip.
Classic day rate trick.
So what that means is we've paid to load the van and now we're paying to offload the van so it can get taken off site.
It's a pay agreement.
It's a pay agreement. Let's have a quick look at what we've done with the garden, but you can see these guys over at Flood Tech making the doors safe. We'll have a chat with those guys in a second in terms of what they're doing on the build to make sure that inside that property stays perfectly dry. Can you come up here?
Yeah.
Let's go. This is soggier than I expected. I will just turn around. Stay on the stones. Previous content you saw that Dan was augering all the holes out for the fence. That's all in. Nice segregation between the two properties starting to take shape. And what we were originally going to do this week was get the porcelain down. And as you can see, there is not a cat in hell's chance of laying anything on this right now. So we've done what we can with the property. So when it comes to laying that Brett paving, we've got it back there. Beautiful slabs, 1000 by 520mm porcelain. That's basically on hold right now. There's a bunch of things to do inside the property. Let's go and have a catch up of where we are and I guess share with you what we're going to do with the rest of the content because...
Sorry, I was waiting for you to...
Jump. I feel like this is an accident waiting to happen. So here's what we're going to do.
Parkour.
Parkour. There you go. Call me Sebastian Foucan. Google it. Let's go out the front of the property, it's a bit wet here. So the kitchen's in. Last thing we've got to get done on this is the grouting of the tiles. But just how good do these tiles look from our friends over at the Marquee Collection? These are ancient neutral tiles. We wanted to go for basically white tiles to bounce all the light around the room. Let's go from here, and I guess one of the things that's significantly changed, which is now my safe space in the property, is the room upstairs that is actually completely done, painted, decorated, and sort of given me some hope what this property could look like when it's all done. Let's have a quick look upstairs. So before I let you in here, H, just pan around right now, because basically where you are is on the landing, and up till that point, we've had the P&D done. So we can see around these beams, the cutting in, sanded this endless times to get the sort of finish that we're looking for on this.
It looks so much brighter and like even bigger than it did before on this landing.
Have a look at the wood, H. Come have a look at my wood, okay? Oh, I was wondering why, by the way, genuine, I didn't realise there was a radiator underneath it. I was like, why is the wood warm? I was like, we've got a problem. I'm just really happy with how this has turned out so far. Like, how much brighter does this all look right now? It just looks absolutely stunning. And come inside, these 2 rooms have been done. And yes, we haven't got the lights on, so you can't see it in all its glory. But the amount of imperfections, and you've probably got some footage of a big hole up here.
God, it's thin wood, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, when he sent me the photos, I was like, there's no way around this.
Even the bloody cost members are thin, aren't they?
To go from that to where we are today within a week, this is a really good example of what this property is going to look like in the end. So we've gone for taupe on the walls. Don't forget, we're using the Lick Pro paint. We've gone for taupe on the walls. It's hard to see the differential in this light with the taupe walls and the white ceiling, but when we get it lit up, because we've had these and other lights knocking about to really see what this looks like fully lit, it looks absolutely stunning. Taupe on the walls, white on the ceiling, and then we've got these featured walls throughout the property. I'm not going to try and remember what this is, but Harry will put it about here with one of the Lick Pro cards. But this paint is stunning, the style of the property. Thank you for Sarah at Stage Spaces for helping us get this style right. We wanted to get a couple of rooms done just to make sure that what we're doing in these continue through the whole house, and the cottage is the look and style we're looking for. I couldn't be more happy. This is like my safe place right now. For all the mess, all the noise, all the delays that have gone on in this property, I'm gonna come into this room and just ground myself and go, this is what we're working for. This is what we're working for, because this is stunning. Even just the sills, the corking in, just the detail. I just know that when this level of detail is across the house and the cottage, we're gonna be so happy with this end result. Yes, I spat my dummy out last week. If you haven't seen it, go and watch. But the guys on site taught me off the ledge. And this room, again, definitely my safe space. Let's have a look next door. It's a bit darker in here, but we've got a solution coming for light so you can see these 2 rooms in all their glory, nice and shortly. We'll get to that room in a second, and I'll tell you what we've done in there. But first, let's just pop upstairs. So how we're getting on with the master and the ensuite. Come on up. Actually, George, can I mic you up? You can ignore him, but can you just tell me the nightmare that you've had with that?
The nightmare we've had yes, we've had a nightmare. Some parts are all this, 3 boards thick, and adhesive on it to level it all up. All over, because the beams are going round, so you've got to board them up to get the boards on.
And what's the impact been on the property not having the heat? Because I know that we've got no heating right now. How does that impact you and what you do?
Taking a long time for the plaster to dry. This would take 2 hours to dry, this is going to take 3 hours today.
Okay.
It's still wet through.
So every time you're putting a coat on, you're basically losing an hour every single time.
Yeah, well,
and how many coats, just so I know, do you?
2 coats.
2 coats.
2 coats on each wall, yeah.
And your plan, after you've done this room, what's the plan for the rest of the property?
Downstairs.
Perfect.
Yeah, that'll do for us.
Nice. Let me take that off you, mate. Thank you very much. One thing just to talk about in this room is you can see now, stud walls up, plaster's gone on, we can see what the ensuite's going to look like. That was one of my concerns, actually putting that ensuite into this room, was would it make this room feel quite tight? Really happy with where we placed it, and little things like this little divot, which we weren't originally doing. It just creates just some more space in the room. Measured out where a double bed or a queen size bed can go. Plenty of space either side. So this room's really starting to actually feel like a room now. Looking forward to showing this next week when all the plastering's done. We can start to put that mist coat on it with the P&D. H, watch your step. This room is probably the dirtiest room on the job, and we've got a commitment right now from every trade on site. We've ripped it all out. We're now starting to get tidy. The reason this is so dirty is because we've literally this moment just finished making this big old hole that you can see behind me. You've seen us go backwards and forwards on what we're going to do inside this room. And what we did is we peeled it back and revealed there is actually a lintel already in place. So what we've done is we've put our own lintel, strengthened it up, kept the original in, just to make sure it's got more structural stability. But now if this is your room, if you moved into this house, look at the amount of storage space you've got. To give it context, you got loads. Mega flow cylinder is going to get tucked nicely in that corner. What we're going to end up doing is putting some double doors on this, and then it's going to be space for someone to come in and use as they see fit. They could get themselves some built-in wardrobes, or they could just simply have it as storage space. One thing that we did notice this morning is because we didn't tell Nick Bundy what we're doing with this space, because we've been undecided so far, is if you open this up and you end up putting clothes here, you've actually got to rummage through your clothes to put the switch. There's a light switch at the back. So we're going to ask Nick to move that, put it on the front. We need a spur for the Mega Flow cylinder because that was originally going above the utility downstairs. but as Chris has previously spoken about, we need it in the centre of property, given where the demand of the water is going to be. Everything seems to be coming together. Let's go have a look at the rest of the property. And before we head over to the cottage to show you the progress with the kitchen, quick update on how we're getting on with the utility. Utilities in, all tiled up, still needs to be grouted. Quick shout out to our friends over at Vitrex. They actually came over to site, saw what we were doing on the build and provided our plumbers and our tilers a bunch of tools. You'll see more of those on Tool Talk TV with some reviews. Last thing to do is the grouting. Also, we've decided, if you imagine you live in this property, you're coming through the back door, you've probably been on a walk, given we're in a nice little village, some good walks around the area. You're dirty, we're gonna put a sink in here. This can be the place that you get nice and clean before you enter the rest of the property. So we've got to get that chased out. Let's go have a quick look at the cottage. Hadn't noticed that, literally just say, H, point the camera at me. What did you just do with that lens? But I'm gonna carry on, the show must go on. I didn't realise what we've done here, because one of the problems that we've got.
Tell me what we're looking at, Adam.
We're looking
Are we looking at the window?
No,
we're looking at the power on the wall.
We're looking at the temporary board.
From the windows to the wall.
We're looking at the temporary board on the wall. Because the truth is, we've had a couple of issues right now with the plastering and the paint and decorating. So as you just saw upstairs, they've got to do 2 coats. And right now, because there's no warmth in this property, the plaster's not drying. So we had this really well coordinated sequence of events where the plasterers would go in, a day later the paint and decorators would go in after, because it would be dry and they'd be able to do their work. The truth of what's happened on site is we've got no heat in the property, the plastering's not drying as quickly as we wanted it to or expected it to, so plasterers are working slower than they want to, P&D can't get in behind it. So I actually had a call from the paint and decorators, which was, we're kind of wasting our time on site right now because we can't work as quick as you want us to. So we're actually sort of costing you money as our client, and I hugely respect that. So what they've done is they've dropped off site, and we've just said, okay, let's just get the plastering and decorating separated, plastering done, top to bottom, let it dry. We've got the heating going on to help with that, so next week all the heating is going to be in. And then we've got Nick coming back to put some lighting in, because one of the other things the plasterers, as well as the paint and decorators, struggle with is there's just no light. 5 o'clock comes round and it gets dark and they can't work. If you think about a paint and decorator cutting in, plasterer, as you saw upstairs, like it's a much more skilled job than I expected. Doing all that skimming, making sure there's no lines in it, you can't do that in the dark. So where we're at right now is sort of taking it a little bit slower to make sure we end up with the finish that we want. But from a content perspective, what that means for you watching this is we don't want to all of a sudden say, new episode every Saturday. Because the truth of it is, we might put a 30-minute episode out in the next couple of weeks, and there's not a huge amount of change. We could probably get that 30-minute show down to a 6-minute video showing you what's going on with the plastering or the P&D or the heating system. So we're going to change things up a little bit and only really release content where we think you, as a subscriber to the channel, are going to get a lot of value from it. So on that note, let's have a quick look at the cottage, and I'm dying to get FloodTech to show you exactly what they're doing. And honestly, I don't actually know how to use these things. So it was actually trading for me on how do I protect this property when in about 4 hours, we might have a flood risk. Let's go. So another perfect example of a room that's come on leaps and bounds, but on camera, it's still pretty dark. So I'm looking forward to getting the lighting in this place. So cottage kitchen, again, basically done. We do have these beautiful deco tiles. I'm really happy with the style that we've gone with. Just needs to get grouted. And to be honest, there's a few rooms right now that kind of feel like they're 90% of the way there. They just need these last finishing touches. And I suppose the thing that's missing is the flooring. We've just booked in our friend Tiernan. You probably saw him in a previous episode. He's going to be doing the flooring downstairs, both properties. We've got flat plank going in next door, and we've got herringbone going in the cottage. You're going to see exactly how he levels the floor off and all the installation of those, as well as using his tool as featured on Dragon's Den. Shameless plug, but he's a top guy, it's a top product. Pipe easy. We're going to show you exactly how that works, and we might even get some to give away. Stay tuned. This is Simon, aka Mr. Lyland Scott from FloodTech. I guess before you show us what you've been working on, can you just share what FloodTech does? For me, it feels very niche. I'm standing up here as if I'm much taller. Makes me feel good, but I'm going to drop down a bit. Feels very niche, but I understand you guys travel the country, and this is exactly what you do.
All over the country. Same product everywhere.
Okay.
Installation is always exactly the same. It's always been done the same way because it works. So.
And what does the product do? I know we'll have a quick look in a second because I actually need to know how these things work.
Yeah.
What is the product for, and when do you specifically get called out?
We get called to places that flood, obviously.
Yep.
Groundwater, flooding, rivers bursting, whatever. And this installation is very, very good. It's obviously designed to stop water going into the house.
Yep.
All right.
So do you want to talk me through exactly what
Yep.
the system is?
Yep.
What do I need to do to make sure that I'm not creating any water ingress?
Right. So always make sure that rail's clean for a start.
Okay.
Even if you wash it off, whatever.
Yep.
Just make sure it's not gritty. So you've got a bottom rubber. You can see that.
Yep.
That's obviously the bottom rubber, and that's the top. So you've obviously got front. This just show the property owner where it goes. Really.
Yep. And you've got one of these systems on every
Single door,
of the
yeah.
property.
Yeah. Because everything's level, everything's easy. See what I mean? That's how it is. Second board, sticker on the front, makes life easy, slots in. Goes over the top of this rubber, you get a FloodTech bag, you have compression blocks and an Allen key. They just slot in. And this creates the downward pressure you're looking for to seal all the rubbers. So now you've got it actually in place. So what I'm doing at the moment, all I'm doing is taking up the slack. Starting from the bottom, working your way up. And then now I know that 2.5 full revolutions works, tried and tested. Obviously the boards are compressed. Now you're just going to sit the boards against the back seal. Simple as that. And obviously a very, very strong product. And that's basically it.
And I guess from a homeowner's perspective, if I was living in this property, I'd wait if there's a flood warning.
Yep.
I'd come out, drop them all on.
Yep.
Feel safe, knowing that if there is any water on the road, it's not getting driven into the property.
We recommend, a good idea is to bring the family out and have a fun day, just put a barrier in so you don't forget.
Yep.
And also you're not rushed because you're in a flood, you're panicking. So you can't do it wrong if you've done it a few times, if you see what I mean.
Makes sense.
So that's what I suggest.
These will just live in the utility room until they're needed.
Do you want me to show you an air brick?
A what, sorry?
An air brick?
An air brick?
Yeah.
Got more to learn. There we go.
So on this property, they had 5 air bricks on this wall. So these air bricks, they're obviously self-closing.
Yep.
Okay, so the water will come up to them, floats the flap inside, and shuts the air brick.
Oh,
All right?
smart.
So the more water against it,
The more pressure it
the
creates.
more pressure it creates, the better the seal. The good thing about these, as soon as the water subsides, the air bricks fall back open to prevent the room. That's another thing.
I didn't know those were going in.
Yep. 5 of them.
And if people want to, because we've obviously engaged you through the council, they introduced you to
Yes.
us. If people want to engage you directly, is that possible?
Yes, yeah. Contact Flood Technologies.
Flood Technologies, quick
Yeah.
Google search. Guys, Flood Technologies, these guys have been absolutely diamonds on site within 2 weeks of getting the deal done. Simon, thank you very much, mate.
No problem.
Appreciate
nice to meet
it.
you both.
See you later, dude.
Thank you very much.
So guys, just before we wrap up for the week, if you're ever working on a day rate, this is how you get max value. You put bricks into a wagon, out of a wagon, and then just in case you got some extra time, you wrap the bricks up.
So this is for safety during transport.
Come on, give us your excuse.
I'm sure everyone would appreciate these are wrapped when they're following me down the road.
Look at that smirk, by the
Can
way.
you imagine driving down the road and seeing brick by brick just bouncing off?
Jokes
car bonnets?
aside, before people throw into the comments, he's not actually getting paid a day rate for this job. He's just here because he loves the verified bill.
Charity work.
So it feels only fitting that we end this episode where we started it, which is next to the water, which is about another 100 mil higher from the last time I walked outside this. Really happy that we've got the guys at FloodTech. You've just seen them with their system. It's probably going to get tested today. Actually, let me just take this for a second, H. Can I just look after your camera?
Don't you dare drop that.
Can I? Okay, I'm going to try and do this, H. H, grab a pew.
Is my side saddle adequate?
Midway through the episode, I spoke about what we wanted to do with the content, and that was largely driven from you. You're the creative guy that makes sure that the channel delivers value to every watcher, every subscriber. Rather than me share what's going on, why don't you talk through what changes you want to make and why?
Yeah, so as everyone will have seen by now, if you've not seen all, 10 episodes, this is probably 10 or 11 that we're recording right now. There's been a lot of kind of rip out, as you've seen. Not a lot happened, so a lot of stuff being pulled out. But what we can see moving forward, unfortunately we've had delays today, as you'll have noticed. I would like to make a big change, not a big change, but I'd like to make a change in how we deliver the content moving forward. So the plan here is we're going to be coming on site with more targeted content. So rather than us, what you may have figured out is we arrive on site, see all the things that have been going on and try and wrap it all up in one weekly episode. Moving forward, what we're going to do is have much more targeted content. So for example, we were hoping today, but unfortunately got rained off, is we were going to get some porcelain laying content from Dan, and he'd be giving us some top tips, how to lay it, top 3 maintenance ideas for your porcelain, which you've got it laid, everything like that. So when the weather gets better, we'll be shooting more of that content. And for everything else that's going on, the P&D that's going on, the plastering that's been going on, what else is happening in this house, Adam? There's lots to happen. There's bathroom, there's
Heating systems, flooring,
heating systems,
bathrooms.
everything like that. rather than wrapping all this up in one big long episode that's quite difficult to digest if you just want to drop in and get some top tips, yes, we break that out, but now we're going to be peppering that out through the... You try and record on site and there's people working. I don't know how you get anything done around here. So before I was rudely interrupted by the flood defense, all I'll leave it with is make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss all of the great content that's going to be coming up in the coming weeks, months, and I'm really excited to see the end result of this property as well. You saw the paint that's wet, that has gone on in some of the rooms right now, even though there's barely any, even though there's barely any light in these rooms, they feel so much brighter when you're actually here in person, so I can't wait to get that on the camera as well. So make sure, guys, you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell if you want to be notified every time we release new content, and until the next time, we will see you again very soon.